Welcome back to Tabletop Salt. I'm Ross, and today I'm going to be discussing what is the next Reset the Clock. Now, Games Workshop have had a fair bit of criticism levied against them. This can be anything from their pricing, to too many books, to game balance, which a lot of people have fairly criticised them on. Myself, I really didn't like the campaign books, and I'm glad to now see that they have listened, and they are now redesigning them by the looks of it, because let's face it, having so little pages of rules that are relevant to people for such a price tag was not a good move. But there are areas that Games Workshop have done well, where people have made this idea of the clock, where things really wanted to be added onto the range for Games Workshop or added into the game in general, and in the end they have provided it, and I think this is an area that should be actually celebrated. To give you an example of other games that might actually learn from this, you look at the World of Warcraft pull the ripcord sort of movement, where people wanted something in the game and Blizzard were adamant it was not going to happen until eventually enough backlash happened. They did provide it, though many considered a little bit too late. But by the by, in that one, I'm going to be looking at Games Workshop and what we asked them to give us, and then they gave us it, and maybe what we want in the future. So let's look at what we asked for. What was previously set as a benchmark for Reset the Clock? They've done something good. And in the end, we actually got it. So we have an example of Plastic Sisters, which I believe were released around November 2019. Something the community really wanted, due to Sisters being a popular force, mainly a bit of a niche one. And it was only semi-accessible because the range was so old, and some of them were metal, some of them were resin, and really needed a full revamp. And in the end, we actually got a full revamp. This was an initial box set, then followed by almost a full army rework, and then in 2021 we got even more units that largely appear to be new units that were not originally from the original range. So that was a really good thing. Plastic Sisters was hugely on the Reset the Clock, and generally the sentiment was very positive to their release. Now, the most recent one seems to be Squats, released about September 2022. Now, some people are not happy with the idea of League of Votann. Some people think that this isn't Squats as we wanted, but it does seem to be a more modern look for them and a creative design that Games Workshop have gone for. So we've got a full new range of that, and I think in coming time we probably will see more. They might be going down the Adeptus Sororitas look, where they have this initial range, and then when there's a new codex to come out in a year or a year and a half's time, which I think is too soon for a codex, but might happen, and then we'll get another wave of League of Votann. That's just a speculation, that one, but either way, Squats was something that we asked for, and in the end we got. And another one which I think Games Workshop trolled us a lot on was the Plastic Thunderhawk gunship. Now, okay, it was for Aeronautica Imperialis, Aeronautica being another game entirely, but we did certainly actually get a Plastic Thunderhawk gunship. Do I think that we'll see one in 40k? Probably not. It would be a thing of beauty to see, but you never know, they might release it in the future. But we did get one, just in a much smaller size. And then we've had a few areas that people have been asking for, and we got the big one being Warhammer the Old World. Now, it's not released yet, and it's maybe a little bit presumptuous to say that is 100% coming before it's released. You know, never ever say something's going to happen till it's kind of, you know, in writing. And I suppose we've got it in writing, but we haven't had the release yet, and I am personally so stoked for this one. Fantasy was probably one of my favourite games I've ever played. And then we've also got Plastic Horse Heresy, which is fantastic, really keeping up with the Horse Heresy and really breathed new life into the game, but also allowed people to get items that were popular from Forge World in plastic for a cheaper price and a lot more accessible. We got Genestealer Cult. That one was a wee bit a while ago, but it was something that came out of nowhere and people really appreciated. And then we've got iconic models like Abaddon coming out, and then we're even getting World Eaters. We're getting them as well. So a lot of things that people really requested, and in the end Games Workshop actually delivered. And this is, I think, unique when the community of, you know, consumers, that people, they ask for something, Games Workshop in these areas have actually delivered. But where could we be looking at the future? What should we be demanding now? And so we come to what should be the next Reset the Clocks. What should be the next things we say, Games Workshop, we really want this. You never do it, but if you did, we'd be really happy about it. So one thing that's been largely requested is Kroot. Now, we have had the new Kroot in the Kill Team box set, and it largely seems that people were really positive seeing these models. And it's been a difficult discussion where people were saying they would be really handy to have the Tau auxiliaries, but then more people are asking now, maybe Kroot could be their own thing. After all, these devouring foes that gain traits based on the enemies that they consume, that could really open up to a very interesting gameplay where they can gain unique traits and different ways to combat their foes based on who they defeat. Very interesting how that could possibly work out. You know, you beat a unit in combat, you manage to wipe them out, gain an ability. That could be really cool, especially if it's based on the army that you defeat. What would this mean for things like Vespid? I have no idea on that one, but Kroot seems to be an area that a lot of people are really beginning to go, could we have something there? Next is Battlefleet Gothic, and the big question is, how has this not happened yet? I've got some personal friends who are absolutely dying to see this come back to the board. Now, a few things saying that one is that we have seen the rise and fall of Star Wars ship-based games, their popularity almost waning, and then we have had Aeronautica as well, which didn't really take off the ground. Again, not sorry for that pun at all, but I can see some hesitancy in that one from Games Workshop when you have had a ship combat based game and then you're wanting to introduce another one. There can be an area of hesitancy on that one, but I really think that Battlefield Gothic would be a bit of a slam dunk of a game to bring out. There seems to be a huge popularity still in it, or at least a desire to see it come to the table. And lastly, a bit of a personal one here would be a 40k game to rival Warhammer Total War. Now, several of us on the channel are big Total War players. Me and David especially absolutely play it. Quite often we will play games where, depending on people's turns, if it's David's turn, I'll do some painting in the background. Really is some of the best gameplay I've played in a while, and I'd love to see a top tier 40k strategy game on PC, and you know, possibly one on the tabletop as well when we get to 10th edition, but that's a discussion for another day. And then there's the many other things people might want. We want the Lion back, we want Harud, we want less books, we want no Primaris Marines, Cadia to actually stand, armour values to come back, an actual plastic Thunderhawk, balance in the game, the Emperor to die, and whatever else people want for, let me know in the comments. And that is it for this discussion on what would be the next Reset the Clock. Now I get it, people may actually not be able to enjoy the hobby in full, mainly because of pricing, because of books, because of rules. All this area might actually work as a block to some people, and that is all fair criticism. But do you believe that in terms of producing items for consumers to have Games Workshop actually done a good job at listening to the community and providing them? And if so, what would you like to see next? I'd personally love to see another 40k strategy game. Now there's one that I've got my eye on, the Chaos Gate one, which has Demon Hunters, really apparently sold quite well and did get some good reviews. So that's a game I keep meaning to get into, but I would love to see one to rival Total War. And then of course getting the Old World back, something I really cannot wait for. So please let me know in the comments what would be your next items to put on the Reset the Clock. Saying Games Workshop, you'll never do this, but if you did, I'd be really thankful. So I've been Ross, thanks again for listening, and we'll see you on another Tabletop Assault Battle Report.